Ryan was frustrated. "The hobby's broken," he ranted. "Grading companies are consistent and greedy, prices are insane, and there's too much hype." His friend raised an eyebrow. "What's your own collection look like?" Ryan glanced at his scattered stacks of unsorted cards and half-finished projects. "That's different," Ryan tried to rebut. Then he nervously glanced down at his phone, where a dozen blue dots stared back at him, highlighting the alerts from his unchecked eBay watch list, which very well could be hiding the grail that he's been hunting for life. Or there were all the bits and pieces that he needed to complete several goals that he had set for himself last year, which were long overdue. Just then, the ping of an Instagram message made him jump as a well-intentioned buyer sent the third reminder for Ryan to ship the card that they'd been waiting for. "Well, yeah, I see what you're saying," he said. Before he could complain about the hobby, he needed to get his own collecting habits in order. And once he did, his negative viewpoint of all those problems in the hobby and in the world washed away, and the hobby suddenly didn't seem so bad.
Ridiculous fondling cardboard.
What is up? And welcome to Fondling Cardboard. I'm your host, Mike Lakusta, aka the Golf Card Collector. This is the 12 Rules for Hobby series, where I take the powerful lessons from Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life and break them down, helping you become a better collector and, more importantly, a better version of yourself, both in the hobby and in life. Yesterday we talked about being precise in your speech because vagueness leads to misunderstandings. Ambiguity leads to conflict. So I'm going to state today's rule very clearly. Rule number 11, set your house in order before criticizing the world. Before pointing those fingers at external problems, fix what's in your control. And within card collecting, before complaining about card prices, bad trades, or grading companies, ensure that you're managing your own hobby behavior and your own collection responsibly. No, stay within your budget, educate yourself, and make intentional decisions. When I see somebody that is constantly pointing the finger at all the different problems around them and blaming those that they feel are responsible, and takes up a big portion of their thought process, I wonder if that person inside, deep down, knows and is insecure about the fact that they have a problem. And that could be a problem with managing their spending, managing the hordes of cards that they have that are unsorted, and honestly cards that they might not even want to begin with, but they have them because they made poor decisions. And whether I'm hitting a nerve right now with you, or if you can't relate in any way and you don't know any people that act like this, regardless, I think there's certainly value to learn from this topic. The importance of self-reflection before criticizing. So, before pointing fingers at external problems like pricing, grading, market trends, whatever it is, it's important to focus on what's within your control. So a great example is Sports Cards Live with Jeremy Lee last Saturday. The episode title was called, "Did Your PSA 10s Just Plummet in Value? PSA Moved the Goalposts." And Jeremy was addressing an issue with a group of guys, almost a rotating door of different long-standing hobby participants, talking about PSA's recent change in their grading standards. Specifically, PSA 10, the centering requirement changed from 40-50, meaning the ratio of space on either side of the card used to evaluate the centeredness of that card, changed from a 40-50 ratio to a 45-55 ratio, which is more in line with companies like SGC that tend to value centering more than PSA has in the past. And a lot of their conversation was finger pointing at PSA, saying how they should have done things different and their accountability to the hobby. Every now and then one of the guys would steel man the PSA argument, saying, well, they're a company and they're profit driven and they're going to be making decisions that are profit based. At the end of the day, I'm not going to weigh in on any of those arguments, but the topic of finger pointing and self-reflection before criticizing really popped into the forefront of my mind because haven't we all made mistakes or changed directions against our own past opinions or stances? Look, I'm not standing up for PSA. I know Nat Turner said that their grading standards have not changed, and yet there is clear evidence that they have. But that very well could be a mistake, or it very well could just be a company or a man choosing to change their mind. We often project our frustration about the outside world onto others. But taking care of what we can control helps improve the situation. So if you don't think that old certification numbers from PSA would get a 10 nowadays, then don't buy them. Show your opinion with your pocketbook in this case, because self-improvement starts with us. So fixing personal habits or routines can lead to a greater clarity and peace when facing bigger challenges in the world, such as managing your collection. So how do we manage your collection responsibly? Disorganization, procrastination, these things can lead to frustration within the hobby, especially when you're ignoring your own collection's needs. So before you're complaining about things like the prices or inconsistencies with grading or whatever, make sure you're managing your collection responsibly. Sorting your cards, tracking your budget, finishing those incomplete projects. This leads to more control and less stress and a more easygoing attitude towards the world. So stay accountable to your collecting goals. Manage your time and your money wisely, and you'll have some happy collecting. So let's zero in a bit on focusing what you can control. You can't control market trends. You can control your own budget and your own approach to purchasing cards. You can't control these channels that talk about flipping cards, how to make a buck, and what you perceive as potentially manipulating people or taking advantage of people with their fees or buying, tips for this sort of stuff. You can control what you watch and consume and subscribe to. Grading companies might be inconsistent, but you can control how educated you are about the grading standards and the grading process and the condition of your own cards. Now, I made a comment on Jeremy's live stream that this would have been nice to know before I sent in 4 different grading submissions earlier this month. Yeah, I stand by that. It would have been nice to know. But I didn't know, so I sent in the grading submissions. There's nothing that could have changed. And me being frustrated with PSA for making this decision immediately after I sent in these grading submissions isn't going to help me. It's not going to help anyone. All it's going to do is actually fuel other people's frustration. And that's just going to create this vicious cycle where they get more frustrated, then I get more frustrated, and it's just this whirlwind of negativity. You don't need that. So what I would focus on is educating myself. What are the new grading standards? Just in general, learn about the hobby, follow the trends, but make intentional decisions based on my goals and not just the hype or what people are saying online. So here's some practical steps to get your collection in order. Start by organizing your collection. Sort cards by set, player, value, whatever makes sense to you. Step 2, set a clear budget for your collecting. So decide how much you're willing to spend each month or each year and stick to it. And I'm actually going to go a step further and say, before you even spend any of that money, you should start allocating some of that budget towards those projects. And if some of the projects are higher priority than others, those ones might have to come first. And if things randomly pop up unexpectedly on eBay, then you might need to shift things around in your budget, but make sure you actually have that baseline, and then you create a revised version of the budget once the surprise has come about. And if it turns out your budget isn't big enough for all of your goals, then you need to start analyzing and take to what I call the chopping block, and figure out what part of your collection needs to go so that you can fund the pieces that you're missing. So that was step 3. That was step 2. Step 3 is finish those unfinished projects. Because whether it's completing a set or addressing items on your to-do list, take action or else that will weigh on your mind and cause unnecessary stress. Step 4, use tools and apps. You can use apps to track your collection. You can manage your eBay watch list. You can use sniping apps. Not that I've talked a lot about this, but you can avoid the need of pulling out your phone during dinner time because an auction's about to close if you just have it set up in your sniper. And stay on top of your purchases. So don't overspend so that you're over leveraged and stressed out. So to put a ribbon on this, When you take care of your own collecting habits, everything else starts to feel more manageable, less frustrating, and frankly, you'll just have a more positive outlook. And those organized habits lead to a clearer perspective on the hobby, and you'll be in a better position to enjoy it. A sense of responsibility and control in your collecting journey allows you to face the bigger challenges with a clear mindset. In collecting and in life, responsibility and clarity lead to greater satisfaction. I hope you're still enjoying the 12 Rules for Hobby series. I'll get back to you tomorrow with the final rule, number 12. See you then.
Ridiculous golf card collector.